Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sports with Sunshine, powered by the Sports Lounge Media. You guys already know the place to get your sports information. We want to say thank you to our partners, the Mogul brand, as well as the Diamond Collection, for all that they do for the Sports Lounge Media. And big shout out to the Sports Lounge Media for powering Sports with Sunshine and making what it is. Anything you guys need, you can be found at www.sportsloungemedia.com, guys. That is where we have our website, and you can find all of our great shows, whether that's the Marshall Experience or my man DP, who runs down South Philly. You guys already know he doesn't need an introduction. I want to say thank you. DP, what's happening, my man?
Hey man, what a time to be alive. I can't say it enough. This is the best time to be an Eagles fan and awesome time to be a sports fan because you get to enjoy great content like this.
Absolutely, he's not wrong, guys. The NFL offseason is heating up. We already know what day everybody is going to be reporting for fall training and fall camp. It's right around the corner, guys. And then right after that, we'll have the preseason, and then not too long after that, we will be opening against the Dallas Cowboys on September 4th at the very beginning of the season. I can't, it's an overstatement to say that, it's a very exciting time. We also have, the NBA finals wrapping up with the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder going to Game 7. So that's some things that are going on, and I know the Sports Lounge is covering that as well. So that's exciting. But guys, as we look at the NFL right now, there's a lot of things going on in terms of where people are going to be finalized, what some of these teams are going to look like, and no other than right now the hottest topic in the NFL. And I think that my man DP can agree. The Baltimore Ravens, right? A team that a year ago was very good against the run, but struggled mightily through the air. Finishing 26th, I believe, per NFL.com in pass defense. They started out 31st. Just not good. Not good through the air, and I think that was an Achilles heel for them. Teams were able to move up and down the field, but it seems like they've kind of got those woes figured out. They have added two-time All-Pro cornerback Jaire Alexander to the roster, to now a star-studded defense, in my opinion, right? You've got Jaire at the cornerback one, and this is all contingent on whether or not Jaire is healthy. He will be starting at the CB1. Across back from behind him, you've got Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphreys. Both of those guys are all pros as well. You have all pro linebacker Roquan Smith, who some consider to be a top 5 linebacker in the game. And then you also have an all pro along the defensive line. I can never remember his name. But guys, that's 5 all pros on a defense that a year ago was the best run defense in football. And I think that they answered the bell in terms of what they needed to do in the secondary. So a big shout out to the owner. I think that this is a great addition for the Baltimore Ravens. I think it makes them better immediately. The big question mark, can Jaire Alexander stay healthy? He hasn't been on the field a lot the last few years, and that does mean something. And like my man DP says, is it going to matter? DP, does the addition of Jaire Alexander make this Ravens team a Super Bowl favorite?
Well, I don't think by itself it does. I think they've done enough with the collection of they drafted well. They already had a decent team around them. Personally, I think it's good from a depth standpoint. I'm not even sure if he comes in and takes a starting job from a Humphreys or Wiggins right up front, And then, like you said, like his health, is he going to be healthy, right? Um, Honestly, when it comes to the Ravens, as bad as the defense was, I think their Achilles heel is just that they just stop running the ball when it matters. If you look back to all the games that they lost, they just didn't use Derrick Henry like you supposed to use Derrick Henry. They should be able to take our blueprint in Philly and make it out of the AFC. But for whatever reason, Lamar kills it in the regular season, and then they switch it up. They switch it up when they get to the playoffs, and they stop running it. They want to get pass happy. They get involved with the stats, and coaches, they can kind of fall in love with stats over wins, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think that, when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, he's got a very, very solid point. When you have a guy who's 31 years old and he's still rushing for almost 1,900 yards, you should probably use that guy. And for whatever reason, when the Baltimore Ravens get to the playoffs, Lamar doesn't perform to the expectation that we need to see him for. And that's not saying that all their losses are on Lamar, because it can also beg the question, is that a coaching issue? Is that a John Harbaugh issue? Is he not using Lamar appropriately? Because when you look at their playoff games, Lamar he's left a lot to be desired. Outside of these last 2 years, Lamar has not had great playoff runs. Now I won't put all of it on him for these last two losses. You look at the fact that he did have two turnovers in that game that cost his team the ability to win, but he did march 90 yards at the end of the game to give them a chance to win. And if Mark Andrews wants to be considered a top five tight end in the game, he's got to catch that football to send it to overtime. So I'm not going to put it all on Lamar, but Lamar does not objectively play well in the playoffs. So I can see what you mean by the addition of Jaire Alexander doesn't fix the offensive woes that the Baltimore Ravens experience. And he's got to play. Jaire Alexander's got to be on the field for it to matter. So I can kind of see what DP means by the addition of Jaire Alexander alone does not make this a Super Bowl team, but I do think that it makes this a star-studded secondary, right? We look at the secondary, there's all pros everywhere. You look at the run defense, it's incredible. Roquan Smith and the defensive line that the Baltimore Ravens have. I'm interested to see what the chat thinks, guys. Let me know in the comments. Is Jaire Alexander making this Ravens team an over-the-top favorite in the AFC, or do you think there's still some other areas of need for the Ravens? A lot of people say that they need receiving help.
Oh man, and that's another thing. When it comes to receivers, do they have a AJ Brown or Smitty? They don't. But do they need it? I don't think they do. I think they run the ball well enough with Henry and Lamar Jackson that all you just need is competent wide receivers, and they have that. They have that in Zay Flowers. They still got Bateman, I
Oh,
believe.
absolutely. A 1,000
Yeah,
yard receiver, by the way, guys. We're not going to sit here
yeah.
and act like Zay Flowers didn't have 1,000 yards and then 9 touchdowns, was it? And then you have Rashad Bateman coming off of his best statistical season as a pro. So both of these guys are trending in the right direction. And then you have two top 10 tight ends in Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews.
And that offensive line. So they have everything that you need to be successful. And like you said, it's not all on Lamar because running the ball is a decision that has to be made from the coordinator as well. And another thing, they don't use Henry right. So him coming out on third downs and you not using him in the passing game for whatever reason is it's a terrible move in my now. I can't say Justice is a playmaker, but you kind of make yourself one dimensional when you literally just use him on first and second down, and if you're behind in the chains, you know for a fact that he's coming out and Justice is coming in. So from a standpoint of keeping the defense on their toes, I think that they're misusing Henry.
I think that it is a fair assessment, but a counter question that I would ask is, can Henry perform that for you? Can Henry be a pass catching back? Like, is that, an area where he excels? If it's not, then you do have to find another guy to kind of do that job for you. Now, Derrick Henry, he's a do it all back, but I don't necessarily know that he can excel out of the backfield to the extent of a Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, or Saquon Barkley, right? I don't think
No,
that's
no,
his
no, no.
game. His
Yeah.
game is a downhill runner, but I agree with you. There is no reason in the playoffs that the Baltimore Ravens should not be giving Derrick Henry 20 plus touches. 19 plus touches because they did it with Saquon. We did it with Saquon. That's the
Mhm.
reason Saquon sat out the end of the year. So that because in the playoffs, Saquon had more than 18 touches in every single playoff game because we knew the strength of our offense ran through the run game. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that the Baltimore Ravens need to sit down, look at what they have. You have Lamar Jackson, who is a mobile quarterback. You have the second or arguably first best running back in the NFL in Derrick Henry. So are they using him wrong? Yes. So I think the bottom line is, does Jaire Alexander make this team an immediate playoff team? No. There's some other parts that go into it, but does he make this secondary significantly better than it was a year ago? Absolutely, no questions asked. If he's healthy. If he's healthy. That's a big if coming from Jaire Alexander.
And they were already a playoff team, so let's not act like this is a huge needle mover for them. They've been in the conversation as a contender for the better part of 5 years. They just can't get over the hump.
Absolutely. And it's a good point. It's a good point. I think that, Baltimore should be, it's like they said, on all the sports shows today, Baltimore should be what Philadelphia is to the NFC, to the AFC. They need to be that squad. Doomsday, what's happening, my man? Welcome in.
It was
Appreciate
good.
you. We are talking about the addition of Jaire Alexander to the Baltimore Ravens. What does that mean for Baltimore? Does it make Baltimore more of a contender than they are? Me and DP argue to say that it doesn't necessarily make them more a contender, but we do think that it's going to fix the pass issue woes that the Baltimore Ravens experienced a season ago. And I think that there's only way to go for Baltimore, and pass defense is up when you finish 26th in the NFL. So I think that Jaire does add that rip to the defense, but like me and DP have been talking about, it's also going to matter what the Baltimore Ravens do on offense. We move on to some more NFL news, guys. Everybody knows that Shedeur Sanders has been absolutely killing it at camp. He's been outperforming, in my opinion, Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco to an extent. Now, whether that's the Browns saying Joe Flacco's our guy and we're not going to run him out there is another question on itself. But in terms of what was expected of Shedeur Sanders, I feel like he has been very good in training camp. Now, he is in a little bit of trouble, particularly outside of training camp, and I don't necessarily know that that's helping him. He has been pulled over twice in the month of June for speeding tickets. The first one was going 91 miles an hour in a posted 60 zone, and this recently he went 101 miles an hour in a 65 posted zone. And the NFL is kind of tearing into him for it. I know we have experienced some bad drama when it comes to driving in the NFL with Henry Ruggs and a couple of those, but I don't know that the Henry Ruggs situation should be compared to this situation. I think those are two completely different things. Also, Doomsday. Let's put Doomsday up on the chat for a minute. Doomsday with a sub. Welcome to Sports with Sunshine. Doomsday, while you're at it, you might as well go ahead and hit the sub button on the Sports Lounge Media. They power me. They make me what I am. And listen, my man Doomsday, the Sports Lounge has so much incredible things coming in the future. And guys, you can find everything you need to find at www.sportsloungemedia.com. You can also find my man DP on his show, the Down South Philly Show. Guys, a lot coming in the future. Thank you so much, Doomsday. We appreciate you. But back to Shedeur Sanders. I think the NFL might be targeting him a little bit more because this happens all the time, right? Guys are always speeding in the NFL. This is not a new thing. This is not something that just popped up, but it doesn't make it right. Obviously it's dangerous. People can get hurt. I am not in any way saying that this is something that should be rewarded. I think that Shedeur Sanders should be punished, and doing it twice in the same month leads me to believe that you're not learning from your mistakes. But I have seen comparisons where we're comparing this to the Henry Ruggs situation. Guys, Shedeur Sanders was not under the influence while he was pulled over in these stops. Was he speeding at a dangerous level? Of course, and I'm not glorifying that. But to compare it to a situation where individuals were harmed and killed is a little bit drastic, in my opinion. I don't know how DP feels about this, but I think it's being blown out of the water a little bit, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean I think it's right, and I do think that he should be punished. But to come on here and demonize the kid and say that he's garbage and all this stuff, I think that that's a little bit much.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where he already came into this league with a whole lot of scrutiny. Um, and ultimately, that's what made him fall to the fifth round, in my opinion. So, he's young, he's famous, he comes from money. So I mean, he's it's unfair to judge him as if he's, a grown man when he's not. He's a kid, essentially. And like you said, this is not the Ruggs situation because nobody lost their life. He wasn't under the influence. He's just being a kid. He's got some maturing to do, just like anybody else. Who most of the
Agreed.
players that
I
come in
sped
this
as a
league,
kid. Let's be honest.
most of
Like,
but even if it isn't on a level of speeding, I mean, we all do things that we wouldn't do when we get older. So I mean, it's just one of those things where he's young. Nobody got hurt. It's not really a big deal. It's just who
I
he is
agree.
and what he means to the league at this point already.
Agreed. And I think that I'm for Shedeur. I'm more concerned with you are already battling character allegations coming into the NFL, and that's the reason you fell. I think that it doesn't help you, right, to do these kind of things. All that's going to do is hinder you and give NFL teams ammo to say, you know what, this guy's not a starter in the NFL. He's doing these kind of things. We need to just bench him. Like you're already on an uphill battle. Don't dig your hole deeper and make your climb harder because you're doing these dumb things. And it is dangerous at the end of the day. Stormy says he's definitely still a kid. He's going to make mistakes, but he's lucky he didn't get hurt or hurt somebody else. And I think that that is the sentiment of everybody. I think that's what everybody's saying is, listen, people can get injured when you're speeding at that point, and I completely agree with that take. The problem is, he's under a microscope, right? Everybody's like overly examining it because anybody else, I mean, I'm sure there's other NFL. You look at Tyreek Hill, like Tyreek Hill and all of his stuff kind of gets, it gets covered, but it's not getting like, I wouldn't say it's getting magnified to this extent. It's all I've seen is that Shedeur got pulled over and he's got bad character issues. Like, so I got pulled over when I was a kid. Does that make me a bad person? No, that's a little bit of a gross exaggeration in my point. He'll learn from it and he'll move on. At least we hope so. And he'll continue battling for that spot because I think that Shedeur Sanders has done an incredible job at camp. He's outperformed Dylan Gabriel by a far. He's outperforming Kenny Pickett, who was playing NFL football a year ago with the world champions. And in my opinion, I don't think that the Browns need to see that much from Joe Flacco, but from what we have seen, Shedeur has outdueled Joe Flacco in terms of non-padded, non-pressured passing, and that's big coming from a rookie. Do we feel like Shedeur Sanders is already at QB2 and can make that push into QB1?
I think he has a shot. I mean, when you think about everything that you just named, right? The list of talent around him in that quarterback room, it's not really hard. I wouldn't say it would be hard for anybody who has real talent to come in and make a push for either the starting position or at least backup. Realistically speaking, I think he will start the season as the backup, and then as the season progresses, if the Browns continue to be the Browns, then he'll get his chance to get pushed into that starting position. But the sky's the limit for this kid. He's a first round talent. It's absolutely insane that he failed to the fifth round. I don't care what anybody says. I wasn't an advocate for him to be the first
I
overall, and
I
I
would
would
give
have been
him.
okay with him going the second or the third round.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say
for
I would
him
put
to
him at second
fall,
or third.
yeah, but for him to fall to the fifth, that was just insane for me.
Yeah, the fact that the Saints took Tyler Show over Shedeur Sanders is absolutely wild to me. In no world do I believe Tyler Show is a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders has the numbers at the college level. Now, was he perfect at the college level? No, but was he the most accurate passer amongst active quarterbacks? Yes. He was. He had the best completion percentage, and that matters. Okay, I understand. I went back, and I was a big critic of Shedeur coming into the draft. I was one of those guys that was like, he's not a first round guy. He doesn't deserve to go in the first round. I went back and I looked at some of those playoff games, or not playoff games, those big time games, because the Colorado Buffaloes didn't have a great record against ranked opponents. Shedeur played very well in those games, very
Yeah,
well.
he didn't have a line for one.
I believe in every one of those combined games, he had one turnover to 10 plus touchdowns. 300 yards in multiple games. Guys, you can't ask for more from your quarterback. That's like Joe Burrow and the Bengals this year. Joe Burrow's out here slinging it for 400 yards, and then they lose a game 53-50 because his defense can't stop a nosebleed. So I think that, the hate on Shedeur is a little bit excessive in my opinion. I agree with DP. I think he comes out the number 2 because Joe Flacco is obviously the number 1 right now. I think he's the guy that he's got the experience, he's got the play style, but I think that he's got a real shot at making that first round pick. And us guys in the sports lounge have a little bit of a running deal going on, like kind of deciding on where we believe Shedeur is going to shake out. I'm going to be one of those guys that say I think by season's end he could be the starting quarterback in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a low bar.
Agreed. I think I can go back on what you said and say the competition's not really there. I mean, Dylan Gabriel's a good kid. He's just let's be honest. He's not a guy that like you're like dueling with to get that for that roster spot. So when we look at Shedeur, learn and live on. Don't make your climb harder. We do think that Shedeur Sanders will have the opportunity to be the starter. Speaking of starters, Trey Hendrickson has still not signed a deal with the Cincinnati Bengals, but the conversations have been, from everything I've read, the conversations have been better this week. Okay. They are in actual active negotiations. Now, whether they'll fall through or not is a big question mark. But from what I understand, Trey Hendrickson is in actual conversations now with the Cincinnati Bengals, as well as if we're talking about the AFC North. TJ Watt is also in active negotiations with the Steelers. They're expecting to have a deal done by the start of training camp. Would be very surprised if they did not. And then you look at, the remaining free agents on the markets. Justin Simmons still hasn't found a home. We're kind of all hoping here in Philly that he finds a way to Philadelphia. He's not a need, but he is a nice little, package. And then you have Jalen Ramsey, who still hasn't found a home. home, all these guys. But what do we feel on the Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt AFC North situation?
So I don't think that they leave the division, honestly. Neither one of these defenses can afford to lose what those two guys mean to their organizations. From a production standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, they just got to figure it out. Now, what they did was they meaning the Bengals, they put themselves in a bad spot because they decided to pay both of those guys. I mean, Chase was going to get his bag regardless. I'm very surprised that they also paid T. Higgins. And I know that was Burrow's guy, but at the end of the day, that defense needed some TLC that they did not give it. And if you triple down on that by not figuring it out with Hendrickson, they're just going to miss the playoffs again.
I can agree. I think that defense, it's almost like a flip flop, right? The Steelers, they had a great defense a year ago, but I think that TJ Watt was a catalyst in that. I think
Mhm.
that he had a very firm spot. And now they bring in Aaron Rodgers, who, in my opinion, does not move the needle in Pittsburgh. I think he will make Pittsburgh better, but you just had Russell Wilson. And I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is worlds better than Russell Wilson. That's just my personal opinion on that. But they've kind of got, at least they have a guy, right, at quarterback that they know can be serviceable, because even though Aaron Rodgers wasn't great in New York, I don't necessarily know that I would say he was horrid, right? Still had a decent number of touchdowns to interception ratio. The problem was, him being able to step up in those big time games. At his age, I think he's kind of at the twilight years. But when you look at the Trey Hendrickson situation, I completely agree. The Bengals doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on offense. You have $500 million offense right now. So that offense is going to be expected to be a 30 points per game offense, because there's no reason it shouldn't be. You paid those guys for it to be a 30-point offense, right? You got Jamar Chase. You got T. Higgins. I agree. I think you might have stretched a little bit for T. Higgins, but that's not me saying he's not a good receiver, but at the cost of the NFL reigning back-to-back sack leader, the only guy on your defense that could make, and I know Bengal fans will tell me, well, he wasn't very good in run defense. Don't, come on. Be honest. You lost Jermaine Pratt to the Raiders. He was another big time tackler for the defense. I know there were moments where he looked porous, but he had the numbers. So Bengals fans, I'm just curious. You need Trey Hendrickson. It's not a matter of like, oh, we'll figure it out, because let's keep in mind, we still haven't signed rookie Shamar Stewart to a
Mhm.
contract. So you are very thin along the defensive line, and I think that Trey Hendrickson needs to be a priority. I agree. I think the Bengals will get it done, and I think it helps them that Trey Hendrickson is so attached to Cincinnati. Even though they've kind of done him wrong, in my opinion, I think that will end up paying off for them. But then you look at the secondary situation, with Jalen Ramsey. Where is Jalen Ramsey gonna fit? We look at all of these different teams. A lot of people thought he was going to go to Baltimore. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of people having him go to Baltimore. Now I see his name connected with the Rams, the Niners, the Falcons. There's so many places. I've seen people saying they want him back in Philly, which I don't think he meshes well with what we're trying to do. I think that Vic Fangio truly is bought into our young guys. I would be very surprised if we brought anybody on. I think that the best chance is Justin Simmons. Outside of that, I would be extremely surprised if we brought anybody else into Philadelphia. But for Jalen Ramsey, I wouldn't be upset seeing a reunion with the Rams. I think that he fits with Sean McVay, the personality wise. I think that the Rams could do with some help in the back end. That was where they were arguably the weakest a year ago. So, how do we feel about Jalen Ramsey? Where's the perfect landing spot for Jalen Ramsey?
Man, it's hard to say perfect because everything is up for debate. But I wouldn't mind him going to maybe a San Francisco with Rob Saleh, or like you said, back with the Rams. I'd never really saw him being an Eagle. For one, even if things are swept under the rug, I think it's still some friction there with him and Vic. And we made an adamant, a assertive effort to get younger on the back end, especially. So I don't think we just, that he would be an expensive 1 year rental for us. So that was unrealistic in my opinion. Baltimore would have been another
I
place for him
agree.
to go.
Mhm.
But ultimately, I would say either the Rams or the Niners.
Both of those are good spots because could you imagine rookie Jahan Barron? I think Jahan Barron plays for. He got drafted by the Niners, if I'm correct, if I'm
I think
not
so.
mistaken. Him learning from Jalen Ramsey, and I think Barron's going to be a day one guy that's going to get a lot of reps. And in that, you also have what's his name over there, the other corner. There's another one, Chavarius Ward, or did he
Yeah.
leave?
He
I
he
thought
may
he might
have
have
he
left.
may have left.
I need to
Yeah,
be more up to date. That's
last
my
year.
bad, guys. But I think that you look over there and you see all these names, and Jalen Ramsey teaching him would be perfect, right? I think the defensive line in San Francisco is going to be significantly better. Which, when you have a defensive line that can generate consistent pressure and get after the quarterback, that's naturally it's going to help your secondary because it's going to give you more time. But I think that the Rams is also not a bad landing spot. There's no one in LA that I would look at and say, yeah, they'll beat Jalen Ramsey out for that CB1 spot. So I think he would be an immediate day one guy there as well. I don't think he goes to Atlanta. I think Atlanta's kind of chilling with what they have. I don't necessarily know that they had the capital to bring him in either. So right now, I would agree with you. I think it is between the Rams and the Niners. They make the most sense. I think he's a West Coast guy. That's his personality. I think those are the best places that would fit. But time will tell. Obviously, we still have a lot of time between now and training camp because once training camp rolls around, the free agency window closes and all these teams will be finalized.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the final dominoes fall. Obviously, as a Philly guy, I would like to see Simmons come to Philly.
Oh, agreed.
Selfishly, even if he's not necessarily the guy, just to be in that room, give us some depth, add some knowledge to that room. I, I'm all for it.
Agreed. I've been very happy with what Vic Fangio has seen in the secondary. Apparently, Cooper DeJean. We could talk about the Eagles a little bit. You guys, we love our birds. So, Cooper DeJean has been practicing in multiple different spots, both the boundary corner, the nickel corner, as well as safety. So it's very clear to me that Vic Fangio trusts Cooper DeJean at a crazy level for a rookie because he has a rookie learning one of the most complex defenses in football at multiple different positions. So I think that we can expect big things out of Cooper DeJean next season. Quinyon Mitchell has that CB1 spot locked in. I think he's been very competitive at camp as well. But Keely Ringo has been making pushes. Apparently, he's been giving AJ Brown problems during OTAs and stuff like that. Obviously, it's too early to tell what we have in them. We need to see what we have when the pads come on. But I've been very happy with what Keely Ringo has done so far. Okay, still have a lot to prove, but I've been very happy. Reed Blankenship is an obvious guy up in the secondary. He adds a little bit of experience there. But like he said, I wouldn't be upset if Justin Simmons returned to teach Sidney Brown and Andrew Makuba. That's not me saying that Andrew Makuba and Sidney Brown aren't going to get reps this year. I think they are. But you can't say, as a Philadelphia fan, we're sitting here, two Eagles fans, that we wouldn't like to see a guy with already has experience in a Vic Fangio defense, is an all pro in the NFL come in and teach those guys. I mean, it's the same effect that Darius Slay had on Quinyon Mitchell. That what he taught Quinyon is invaluable, as well as Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, man. It makes sense to me. Ultimately, we don't know what they're thinking and what they see. They could see all they need to see out of Sidney Brown and Makuba. I think for me, if I had to choose between the two, I would want another cornerback, and not necessarily to come in and be the guy, because I'm all for giving Ringo a fair shot at being the starter. I'm just big on depth, and
Agreed.
I remember in 23 that was one of the issues. Outside of the many issues that we had on the defensive side of the ball, we just didn't have DB depth, linebacker depth, safety depth. It was bad, but
Agreed.
I would like to have at least one more guy that you can depend on, because you think about last year. Of course, we had Slay, we had Q, but behind them we had Ringo and Ricks. So everybody, because we got so much younger, everybody moved up one. Ringo played a key in our special teams. He was like our special teams ace. So if you move him into the starting spot, that we lose a spot on special teams. And special
Right.
teams is always a forgotten team that can lose you the game as
It
well
it
as win you the game.
he's 100% right, guys. If you remember, on special teams played a vital role in the NFC Championship, where we went and got, it was still kind of close. We hadn't quite pulled away yet. We get that fumble on the punt, and from there it was literally just the belt. from there. So I agree. Also, another example: the opening kickoff of the wild card round against the Green Bay Packers. Those kind of things matter, right? Those are things that should be emphasized. And luckily, in Philadelphia, we pay attention to all the details and make sure all the teams are ready to go. I can't agree with DP more. And it's going to be interesting, like he said, to see where everybody lands. Don't forget, guys, if you need any of this information, don't forget you can watch the playback at Sports with Sunshine. You can get any and all of your sports information, whether it be the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, you name it. www.sportsloungemedia.com has everything. You can get fantasy sports over at the Marshall Experience. You can talk more NFL and Eagles down South Philly. We're going to be introducing Sports Lounge Media bets in the future. Guys, the Sports Lounge has everything you could ever need in sports. It's becoming the sports entity on the internet, and we want all of you to be a part of it. So please go to the website and click that subscribe button and subscribe to all of the different Sports Lounge Media shows. We appreciate your guys' support. DP, I want to say thank you for giving me some of your time tonight. I know we rocked and rolled for about 30 minutes, but we're going to probably get ready to wrap this here up. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, the Mogul brand, as well as the Diamond Collection, for making the Sports Lounge Media what it is. And thank you to the Sports Lounge for making Sports with Sunshine a reality. Guys, I'm having the most fun I've ever had in my life. I'm blessed, lucky, and fortunate to be around a group of guys that are also with me, man. Big things coming in the future. DP, my man, as always, it's a great time to get together and chat. Be looking forward to the next one. I'm getting ready for that Down South Philly episode on Tuesday. Y'all boys better catch me in the chat.
Go Birds.
All right, guys. For now, that's going to be the episode of Sports with Sunshine. I will see you guys on Monday, where we'll be talking more about the Birds and NFL news that happens over the weekends. I better see each and every one of you there while you're here. Whether you're here now or you're here in the rewind, tap that subscribe button. And as always, go Birds.